Yo, what is going on, everyone? It's Wraith here, back with another video. Now, I'm sorry this is a bit of a later upload today, but basically I just wanted to get out one more video before Season 3 comes out. And this video is dropping on basically the day of that Fortnite event with the agency kind of exploding or whatever kind of happened. Personally, in my opinion, I just watched the live stream on Mongrel's Twitch, and I didn't find it too interesting. But I am definitely curious to see what it is going to do for the map, mythic weapons, the mythic POIs, all that kind of things. So I'm looking forward to that. Let me know what you guys thought about the kind of event down in the comments below. But basically in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to improve your mechanics. And you can use this video in Season 3, Season 4, all the time. Basically, you can always use it to improve your mechanics, because I doubt any of these are going to go out of style or out of fashion to help improve. So if you're looking forward to this video and want to improve, make sure you slap a like button on it, comment what you want to see for a future video, hit that subscribe button, and let's get right into it. So basically right off the bat, there is 3 main mechanics, 4 if you're counting game sense, but I don't really count that as mechanic. It's kind of a different style. But basically there is aiming, editing, as well as building. Now, in my opinion, all 3 are super important, and in different scenarios they can be the difference between winning or losing a fight, winning or losing a game, or just surviving a bit longer in a tournament, scrim, or even a normal game. And all 3, like I said, are extremely important to excel in, always improve in, and just get better at overall. So basically, we're going to break down 3 of the all 3 of the mechanics, and I'm going to talk about how you can improve each one and what is the best ways to improve each one. So let's get right into that. So for the first mechanic we're going to talk about is basically aim, which is, in my opinion, probably the most important aspect of the entire game. Yes, you can say building and editing is extremely important, but in my opinion, if you can't hit your target, you can outplay them every single time, out-edit them every time. But if you can't hit your target consistently, or your opponent has better aim, they can just wait and pump you in the face for 180. So there's plenty of ways to grind aim and improve your aim, thankfully. Now, if you're on controller, you can still do a couple of these things. I personally don't recommend you spend too much time on your aim. I would, in my opinion, rather work on mechanics a little bit more if I was on controller. But you can still do a couple of these things just if you do want to get a little bit better. I will put a timestamp right now on how to switch to editing and building. But basically, the first thing you can do for aim, and I always recommend this, is you can download an aim trainer such as Kovacs or Aim Labs or something like that. I personally recommend Kovacs. I personally have over around 300-400 hours, give or take, in it. Quite a bit of high scores, like top 1000s, tops 500s, even a couple top 100s, and some main courses. I love playing it. It's really good, and it just really helps your mouse control, mouse aim, mouse flicks, tracking, all that kind of stuff. It really does help, and that's probably the only reason I'm decent at aiming. Like I played on controller up until Season 7, I think it was. So I've only been on keyboard and mouse for around 4 seasons, but I already aim as well, in my opinion at least, as some arguably very good players in the Fortnite scene. But yeah, Kovacs, I made a video about it down somewhere in my channel a couple months ago, if you want to look at that, or you can just look up Kovac routines or how to play it. The next one would be in-game aim trainers. So I've made tons and tons of videos about in-game aim trainers before. There's Skavoks, there's just Tito's, there's tons of different ones that you guys can do that will have tracking drills, Tau Frenzy just like Kovacs, flicking drills, all those type of things that you can basically imagine. There are thousands upon thousands of aim training drills that you can do. I've made a video on it. If you want to see that, just look up aim trainer Wraith or something like that, should pop up. The next thing you can do is close range box fighting, and you can do that through Discord. And if you guys don't know what box fighting is, it's basically what Clicks does all the time, and it's just 1v1 your opponents with, like a kind of 8x8 or 8x4 kind of box, I guess you could say, where you can't build too much, but it's more about just working on your close range shotgun or close range tracking with your AR. It's just a really good way. A lot of people don't really realize it does help aim, but it does really help your aim, especially your flicks. In my opinion, that's why Clicks has such a nice flicks, is just because he plays box fights literally every single day for hours and hours. The next one would be just playing the game more in general. or any other game really. If you're on keyboard and mouse, obviously for controller, if you play like COD or something like that, your kind of accuracy might transfer over a little bit just because you're more comfortable with the joysticks. You know how much you need to move on them, how much pressure you need to put on. But if you played like CSGO or Valorant or something like that, or Rainbow Six Siege, and you switch to Fortnite, or you just play that on the side, it will help your overall aim. Probably not as good as an aim trainer, but it still will help it. Or just playing the game will obviously help your aim as well. So now the next key mechanic, and again this is probably in my opinion the second most important one after aiming, and it is editing. Now editing is so important. It allows you to tunnel properly, how to outplay opponent, how to make the proper peaks to make sure you get the best amount of damage without revealing yourself too much on opponents in box fights, build fights even, etc, etc. And yes, like I said, if you have really good aim, you can kind of get away with lacking on your editing. But all these top players, Mongrel, Benji, Clicks, Booga, Stretch, all of them have absolutely unbelievable editing, so why wouldn't you work on it, right? So a couple of things you can do to work on your editing would be, number one would be doing an edit course. I've again made tons of videos on edit courses before. Just look up how to improve editing Wraith Fortnite and it should pop up as well. Doing those, probably one of the best ways to do it, just helping your specific edit, getting through the routine, getting through it faster. The faster you go and the more consistent you are, obviously the better you're going to be in game, etc. But don't focus too much on edit courses, because obviously they are very good to help with your overall editing, but to do more in-game 1v1 kind of scenarios is, in my opinion, a lot more beneficial. So the next tip would be 1v1 build fights, and a lot of you guys might be like, well, isn't that building? And obviously yes, it is building, but you do use a lot of edits on it. You can, example, use triple edits. You can use a side jump with a ramp over top of your head and then edit it back. Whatever the case is, you use a lot of editing in free or 1v1s. The next one would be 1v1 box fights. So similar to your aim training, you're working on close range edit, you're working on the peanut butter edit, window edits, and just doing really quick overall edits to move between box and boxes. If someone takes your wall, you need to throw a cone down, edit through the cone, edit through the floor. It's just overall helping your edits become a bit better. And then the last thing would be free building. So free building, and obviously in game as well, but free buildings are a really good way. You see Mongrel, you see almost literally every single pro free build all the time, like kind of what Faceway does in creative, and just crank all the time. Will help your building, will help your editing, will just help you feel a little bit smoother, more consistent. And if you push yourself and always try and become faster, because obviously if you're just editing for the sake of editing, you're not going to improve, you're not going to get better. But if you're editing to your max speed, max capabilities every time, obviously it will slowly start to improve. So the faster you go, as well as obviously you don't want to be missing your edit every single time, but if you can go super fast as well as super consistent, that's your goal. So just work on your speed and then work on your consistency, or the other way around, doesn't really matter. So now the third mechanic, and probably in my opinion arguably the most least important, or the least important mechanic, would be building. But 100% don't just not practice this. Like, building is still a super key part of the game. You need to be able to 1v1 people and outbuild them and take high ground, whether it's end game or just in a 1v1, still having high ground and all that stuff. Even though people box up and it's kind of the box fight meta, it's still super important to be able to build extremely well, extremely fast, and extremely consistent. Things like the high ground retakes you can do, yes, they're not that useful in game, but just being able to do that really helps your overall editing and building mechanics. Just being able to do the Faceway high ground retakes, or the Benji Fishy, or Mr. Savage, or whoever you want to say, they all know how to do high ground retakes, just because it does help your overall mechanics, make you build and edit quicker. The next way to improve that would be free building, kind of similar to what I said about the cranking, just like free editing. It's basically the same thing, where you just go into a 1v1 or go into a creative map and just build to your heart's desire. Try different retakes, try different side jumps, try just doing everything you possibly can that you can think of. Watch pros, figure out what they're doing in their free building, and basically mimic it and try and do it yourself. The next thing would just be basically 1v1s, 1v1 build fights. If you guys don't know, you basically 1v1 build fight an opponent through Discord or whatever the case is. But building's probably the easiest to improve upon, in my opinion. You just got to put a lot of time into it. And then some things to basically work on all three of them. The number one thing would be is just W keying in Arena. I've talked about this so much, probably the best way to improve overall, including your mechanics. Just W keying everyone you can find, trying to outbuild them. Even if you die from someone shooting you down, who cares? Try and out edit them, whatever the case is, right? Just try and push yourself on your editing and your building, especially when you're W keying. Zone Wars is a really good way to do it. Unfortunately, some of the players aren't the best, but you can find ones through Discord or just play the public ones, and that you can still honestly grind as hard as possible and still try and make your edits and builds as quick as possible, as well as work on your aim. And then the last one would be realistic, so 1v1 realistics, where it's basically just a map. You have a specific amount of resources, specific amount of shield or health, extra to kind of pop, and then a different kind of gun every single time. So those are a really good way, just kind of similar to W keying in Arena. You're just practicing fighting over and over again, where you will use building, editing, as well as aiming. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you slap a like button on it, and I will see you guys in Season 3. Peace.